From my beaded bracelets around a bezeled Rivoli collection, today we have a new design. I am showing you how to bezel a 14mm Rivoli with 11/0 and 15/0 seed beads. Then, how to add a herringbone strap to make a beaded bracelet. This is a longer tutorial, so please look in the description below for the timestamps of the chapters. So let's start today with the Rivoli bezel. Here we have the version made with 11/0 delicas, and here we have the same technique made with round seed beads 11/0. There is a difference in the way they look, but the technique is basically the same. After we bezel the 14mm Rivoli, we will come with this bracelet strap made in the herringbone, modified herringbone technique. So here we have our 14mm Rivoli. If you Google how many delicas for 14mm bezel, you will find 36 beads. Here I don't have delicas. These are just some silver lined normal preciosa seed beads, 11/0s. But the way they are made, they look very cylindrical, and if you compare with the size of a delica, it's more or less there, the same size, and a much better price. So as much as I keep saying, I always say the delicas are absolutely lovely, they are so expensive. So we go with this version, and we bead on a string, on a beading thread, 36 11/0s, and these are the cylindrical ones. Now let's close this in a circle. Okay, and we move the thread a few beads up from the knot. And from here on, let's see if it's more or less, see, the size of our Rivoli. And now let's start our peyote stitch, which is just the normal technique. Pick one, skip the next one after the thread that comes out, go through the next one. And this is what we do around the circle. Skip one, go through the next one. Here I am using a beading needle size 10. When we will need to go to the 15/0s, depending again on the make and on the type, you will have a bigger or smaller hole, so it will allow you to work with this bead or with this needle, or you will need to go to a thinner one, and I have an size 11 needle as well. It's a very small one. I don't know where I have bought that short one, but it will do the trick. Okay, so here we just go around the circle made out of 36 beads. I'm trying to move my hands as little as possible so I am not going really out of focus. Okay, so your work should look like this. Here we have the last stitch of this circular peyote. So pick up one, skip this one, we have to go through this one and through the first one that we have added in this row, and this is what we call a step up. We need to step up to make sure that all is good, and this is the end of our first row. Being peyote is considered to be row number 3 because the first row where we had kind of 2 beads is considered to be row 1 and 2. As you can see here, we only need row 1, 2 and 3, so this should be enough to create the bezel around our Rivoli. This is not a Swarovski. If it would be Swarovski, this edge would be much thinner. So if you feel that is needed one more row, you can add just now another row of peyote with 11 O's around here. Generally 3 rows are just enough. So now let's leave it like this with only 3 rows of 11O slash delicas, and let's add the 15 O's. Now we add 1 row of peyote with 15 O's. Because I know that my 15 O's are very small, I am switching to my size 11 beading needle, and we just pick up 1 seed bead and drop 1 seed bead in between those that stick out, just a normal peyote. And here with every bead that we add, we try very gently to pull the thread. This way the distance between the beads will diminish and we will get that closed edge that will catch the Rivoli in. Okay, so it should already start to cup up. Here I am working on the last stitch of the first row with 15 O's, so we have to step up by going through the last bead of the previous row and the first bead of this current row, just like this. And then we pull the thread gently and we prepare for the second row of 15 O's. I must admit that I've never seen any work that doesn't bead at least 2 rows of 15 O's on the top of the bezel to catch the top of the Rivoli. So we continue our circular peyote, and add 1 15 O in between the 50 rows of the previous row. Okay, just like this. Here we have the last stitch of the second row of 50 rows, and we step up through 2 seed beads, okay, and now we gently pull the thread, okay, and this would be the top of our bezel. We turn it over, we put the Rivoli face down, and we push it a little and kind of model it around, and it should be like this. As we see, it's a very, very narrow catch. When we make the back of the Rivoli, this will become stable. But at this step, you can decide if you want to add another row of 15 row to stabilize the top of the bezel, especially if this is going to be a part of a ring. This would need another row. I remember once I made a ring with a Rivoli for my sister. I have sent it through the post, and when it got to her, the Rivoli was out. So try to avoid that. For the third row, we can decide to do a normal, just one by one, or we can do a peyote stitch every other bead. And for that, we will need the number of beads to be divisible by 4, which is possible in this case, because we have started with 36 beads. So let's do the third row in this manner, every other bead. So let's see how we do this. We pick up 1 50 row, go through the next one, and then we move the thread up here. So 1 peyote, and the next gap we skip it, so the thread just go freely without any bead. So here we have skipped 1 peyote. Pick up 1, go through the next one as for a normal peyote, and then skip the next one. So go through 2 50 rows, the one in the gap and the one at the top. Let's see how it looks like. So it's like this, and let's continue a few more together. Pick up 1 peyote, and skip the next 2 by going through the beads. One more peyote, and skip the next one. Oopsie. So the one at the bottom and the one at the top. And we pull the thread and it should look like this here. We have tops and valleys, mountains and valleys. And here we are at the last stitch. So pick up a 15-0, peyote, and for the last one we step up by going through 1, 2, and this, the top, the first one that was added. And when we get with our needle there, we have finished our row. Okay. Here we are. Let's turn it over, put on our Rivoli, and you can see how nicely is held now compared with the previous sequence. So yes, this is a very beautiful way to catch the top of the bezel. Now we have to continue with the back of it. For the back of the Rivoli, we can decide to do exactly the same sequence as we've done for the top, and is very stable, as you can see. Or you can decide to create a netting structure, and with this structure we will cover more of the back and make it more stable, especially for a bracelet, but for sure for a ring we would need to do that. So now we will continue with the netting version, because if we continue exactly like for the top, it's just repeating the sequence that we've just done together. So let's move our thread through the work on one bead on this side. At this point we already have our Rivoli in the bezel, so we will work with the Rivoli in the bezel like this. And because it's more convenient for me to work this way, I will just change the direction of the thread like this, and now I can bead in this direction. I find it easier. The first row, it will be with 15-0 and is extremely easy, as long as we don't tangle the beads. Okay. So pick up 15-0, go through the next 11-0, and continue like this around the circle. And again, control the tension of the thread. I will need to buy a bigger size 11 needle. It's so small for my fingers. And here sometimes they do not go not even through an 11 size 11, so we just bin those 15 O's. Again, another one. Here we are at the last stitch of the first row of 15 O's on the back of the bezel. We step up, and now we gently pull the thread. Okay. Now I would do another row of 15 O's. I'll meet you at the end of the second row of 15 O's on the back of the bezel. Here we bead together the last stitch of the second row of 15 O, and we step up like this. And now we start our netting, and for this we pick up 3 15 O's, like this, skip the first bead that sticks out and go through the next one. And we basically put a loop in between the sticking out beads, skipping one. Again, pick up 3 15 O, 1, 2, and 3. Skip the next one that sticks out, go through the next one. One, 2, 3. So the thread comes out here. The next sticking out bead we skip, go through the next one. And one of the beads is not good, so I have to pick up other beads. 1, 2, and 3. Let's see if they go. Yes, they go. Thread coming out here. Skip this one, go through this one. 1, 2, and 3. Skip one, go through the next one. and another loop. 1, 2, and 3. Skip this one, go through this one. Again, didn't realize how bad my 15 O's are. 1 and 2 and 3. Another problem, and I need to change my supplier. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Skip this one, go through the next one. One, 2, and 3. Skip this one, go here. One more. 1, 2, and 3. What a surprise, it doesn't go through the needle. Skip this one, go here. One, 2, and 3. Skip this one, go here. And gently pull at every step to make sure that the thread has the right tension. And here, as you can see, we are at the last stitch. Skip this one, we have to go through this one, and we come out at the middle bead in the loop of 3. And this is our first netted row. At this point you can decide if you go with another row of nets, which will mean other 3 beads in between the middle bead of the loops of 3, or you stop here and we just go around with a peyote. I would suggest that we do another row of 3 beads loops, because this way we can see how well we can cover the back. So we connect with this one, pick up 3, connect with the middle bead of the next loop, again with the next, again I have a bead that doesn't go through the needle, I better discard it. One, 2, 3. One, 2, and 3, and again the middle bead. 1, 2, 3, the middle bead, 1, 2, 3, I should have trimmed that tail. 1, 2, 3. And here we can see this is going to be the last stitch of this row. 1, 2, and 3. This means that we have to step up, so we go through this bead up to the middle bead of the loop. And that's a struggle, because nothing beautiful comes without a struggle, is it? Okay. And now in the last row we just connect the top beads of the loops without actually adding any beads. And to make sure that everything is right, we go around and reinforce this last row. So here we have just connected together the beads, and we pull the thread and force the beads to lie down against the back of the Rivoli, and we go around again to reinforce. This is just a version. We could have skipped altogether the last loops, and we could have connected the tops with 2 beads peyote stitch. It's really up to you. We can improvise. There is not an exact science. Or you have to do this or else. No. Okay. So just now, this is the back, totally covered, and this is the front, perfectly secured. And now let's see how we quickly add the herringbone strap to this Rivoli. As you can see here, the strap is connected to one of the beads from the central row of the initial 11-0 peyote. So around that bead we start with the 2-bead herringbone stitch. So let's move our thread through the work to one of the those beads. So let's see. And as you can see here, 11-0, 11-0, and the middle row. Okay, so there is where we stop and start building up our strap. Now I can go back to my bigger needle, and I'll show you how I usually connect threads. So on the new thread that I'm adding at the end, I make a loop just like that, and with this loop put the old thread through, and then I pull until I hear a kind of a click. I don't know if it was. When you hear that click, the thread would not move. Okay. And now I cut, and here I have my new thread. Let's start building our herringbone, the modified version that I have showed you in a previous tutorial. So I pick up 1, 2 seed beads and go through the one at the base that is on the bezel, and go up again, 2 seed beads, go through the first one and again through the one on the Rivoli. These 11-0s usually allow at least 2 or 3 passes without problem. And let's try another one to make sure that the thread is nicely secured for the strap. Okay. Yeah, it goes very nice. No problem. And now up. It seems it was caught in the thread itself. So now let's continue with pick up 2, go down 1, to the right, and go up 2. I prefer to leave a little of this tail to be caught in between the beads rather than just cut it at the knot and kind of waste it or risk it to be undone when worn. Okay. So we have built up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is something that we have to remember on the other side, the same number. And now we can start our modified 1, 2, 3. Go down 1, up 2, now pick up 2, go down 2, up 3, and we make sure that the bead, the second bead from the previous row, is caught above these 2 beads that we have added. Just like this. This would be the bead from the previous row. Let's continue. Pick up 2, go down 2. The reason being just to secure that bead, the extra bead, go up 3. So after the bead we have 1, 2. Let's go up to 5. This would be the third. Four. And 5. And now we add the extra bead. So 1, 2, 3. Go down 1. Up 2. Pick up 2. Go down 2, leaving the one in the middle, and now we catch with this loop the bead on top. Okay, and go up 3. And again, pick up 2, go down 2, and up 3. And we know that this way our bead is well secured, and it looks like this. Let me move. Okay. And we have added 2 stacks of 2. This means that it will be followed by 3 more. 1, 2. For these 3 more, we just need to go 1 down, 2 up. 2, 3. Okay, and then we continue with the sequence of 3. At the end of the strap, I recommend to use the usual closed ring, and this will allow us to attach any type of clasp using jump ring. And now let's see how we connect the other side. Now let me show you how I usually find the equivalent bead on the other side to be able to create symmetrical strap. So this one with a needle like this on the opposite side, and it's here. And this will be the bead where we anchor the strap the same way we've done in the other one. So this is how we find it. We will get this beautiful bracelet, very, very, very delicate, and believe it or not, will be sturdy enough, even if it looks so delicate. So I hope you like this option of strap using absolutely the same Rivoli. In our next tutorial, I will show you how to attach the peyote strap, odd count peyote strap, which has the sides covered while we do the stitch, so it doesn't show any thread. I so much prefer this technique. Thank you for watching. See you next time with a new tutorial. Ciao, ciao.